What if the thing you avoid most is what can most reveal who you are? What if your fears, your doubts, aren't obstacles, but signs? Maybe what you hide from yourself isn't a mistake, but an invitation. A silent path that leads straight to your true purpose. Today, we're diving into one of the deepest teachings the human mind has ever touched, Carl Jung's theory of the shadow. But this isn't about distant ideas or complicated theories. It's about you, about parts of you that you may have never truly looked at. Throughout this journey, you'll understand what your shadow is and why it holds what's most valuable, your purpose, your strength, your freedom. And in the end, you might find something that changes everything. For Jung, the shadow is everything you hide, even from yourself. Desires, thoughts, traits you've learned to silence out of fear or shame. It lives in the dark of the mind, out of control, out of sight. But what he discovered is surprising. It's exactly in that hidden place that your greatest strengths also live, as if what you reject is, in fact, an essential part of what can make you whole. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you get irritated with someone, and deep down, you don't even know why? Maybe it's because that person showed something you try to hide in yourself. Sometimes, what we judge in others is just a reflection of what we deny in ourselves. The shadow reveals itself this way, in reactions that seem exaggerated and in discomforts that catch us off guard. Everything that irritates us about others can teach us something about ourselves. The shadow isn't just darkness, it's stored energy, unused potential. What was repressed didn't disappear. It's just waiting. And the more we deny it, the more it grows in silence. Think carefully. Is there something in you that you hide, even from yourself? An old fear, a quiet anger, a desire you've learned to call wrong? What if none of that was a mistake? What if, behind those rejected parts, there were only messages waiting to be heard? Maybe they aren't flaws. Maybe they're pieces of you trying to come home. Carl Jung believed that we only become whole when we stop running from our shadow and start talking to it. This process has a name: individuation. It's when we stop being fragmented halves and become one. It's not simple, nor quick, but every step on this path reveals a freedom that once seemed impossible. Being who you truly are goes far beyond the image you show the world. For Jung, it's in this journey of accepting both your light and your shadow that you begin to become whole. Real growth doesn't come from what you hide, but from what you accept. You don't evolve by defeating the shadow, but by embracing it as part of you. Every hero, at some point in their journey, must face their own darkness. Hercules didn't just fight monsters, but the rage he carried inside. Simba, in The Lion King, ran from his past, tried to forget who he was, but guilt chased him. The turning point only came when he looked at the sky and heard his father's voice. Remember who you are. These stories aren't just fiction, they're mirrors of our own soul. The question that remains is simple, but carries real weight. Are you ready to stop running? Can you face what you've avoided for so long and ask with quiet courage, what do you want to show me? Jung saw the shadow not as a monster to be defeated, but as a silent guide. It reveals itself in recurring dreams, in persistent fears, in people who attract us for no apparent reason. All of this might be the shadow calling your name, asking to be heard, not in a rush, but with presence. The first step is simple, but requires presence. Notice. Pay attention to the emotions that hit hard, the reactions that seem bigger than they should be. They usually point straight to the shadow. Then comes the more delicate step: accept. It's not about giving in or acting on impulse. It's about looking without fear, without excuses, and understanding why that lives in you. Imagine the lightness of no longer fearing your flaws, of seeing them not as burdens, but as living parts of your construction. Think of the strength that comes when you allow yourself to be whole. without pretending, without hiding. Authenticity isn't perfection. It's the courage to be complete. Now let's dive even deeper. Let's explore, step by step, how to turn the shadow into light, how to recognize the signs, listen to what's been silenced, and integrate what always seemed separate. Because sometimes what we call darkness is just the part of the soul that hasn't yet been seen with love. And don't forget, the deepest truths haven't been revealed yet. At the end of this journey, you won't just understand your shadow, you'll learn to walk with it. Like someone who finds a map and discovers the destination was always within. Let's move forward together, going deeper into the layers of your own being until we touch what's essential. Let's go deeper. Because the shadow doesn't just show up in dark thoughts. It lives in your habits, in the relationships that bother you, in the emotions that arrive unannounced. You know that moment when anger explodes or sadness takes over completely and you don't understand why. That's the shadow speaking loudly because you've spent too long trying to silence it. Why does the shadow have so much power? Because it acts in the dark, outside your consciousness. The more you try to hide it, the more it grows in silence. It's like pushing a ball underwater. The deeper you force it, the stronger it comes back. Denying only feeds it. Accepting is the start of liberation. What if, instead of fighting what you feel, you chose to understand it? Bringing what's hidden to light doesn't weaken, it frees. When you recognize the root of your pain, it loses its power to control you. The shadow only scares while it lives in the dark. One of the subtlest ways the shadow appears is through projection. When we reject parts of ourselves, we end up seeing those same parts in others, and we react strongly. Someone who feels small might attack those who shine. Someone who doesn't accept their vulnerability judges those who show emotion. The shadow hides in what we criticize, but it's always speaking about us. The world is a mirror, and every person who bothers you might just be reflecting something you haven't wanted to see in yourself. Jung said it clearly. Knowing your own darkness is the best way to deal with the darkness of others. Looking inward isn't just self-care. It's the key to living in peace with everything around you. Think honestly. Is there someone who always stirs something strong in you? Maybe it's not about them, but about what that person touches in you. The reaction is an invitation. Instead of looking outward, ask quietly, what is this emotion trying to show me about myself? This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about finding yourself. Every time you project something onto someone, you're faced with a rare chance to reclaim a piece of you that was forgotten in the dark and bring it back with consciousness, with truth. Now let's go deeper, because the shadow doesn't just hide pain, it also hides talent. Sometimes what you've repressed is the very thing that can give you meaning. The person who stifles their creativity out of fear of failure might be suppressing the exact gift that would shape their purpose. The shadow doesn't erase, it waits to be released. Purpose isn't something you find outside, it's something revealed within. Jung saw purpose as an alignment with who you truly are, with everything, light and shadow. He said it clearly. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that path begins when you stop hiding from yourself. This alignment starts with a simple act. Asking, but not ordinary questions. Questions that cut deep. What do you fear in yourself? What were you taught to hide? What dream did you abandon because it felt too big or too small? Write, look, feel. Sometimes, the shadow just needs space to start speaking. Writing can be a mirror. Jung wrote a lot. He used a journal as a direct path to converse with the unconscious. He taught his patients to record dreams because what appears there, symbols, emotions, repetitions, has something to say. If a theme persists, or an image returns, maybe your shadow is trying to speak to you in silence. Integrating the shadow changes everything. Think of an artist who only uses light colors. The painting might be beautiful, but it will lack depth. Now imagine that same artist using all colors, including the darkest ones. That's how it is with the soul. When you accept even what hurts, you start painting your life as a whole work, not half of one. Integrating the shadow doesn't mean being led by it. It's about looking honestly and saying, "You're part of me too." That acceptance doesn't weaken, it humanizes. And when you understand your own darkness, it becomes easier to have compassion for others, because everyone carries something. And recognizing that brings us closer in what's real. Embracing the shadow doesn't happen all at once. It's a journey, made of slow steps, falls, and discoveries. It requires presence, courage, and a willingness to grow inward. But over time, something shifts. You gain clarity, peace starts to grow inside, and living becomes more authentic. There's a key point in this journey. Your purpose isn't just yours. Jung believed that when you become who you truly are, you help heal something bigger, the collective unconscious. Every step you take toward truth creates space for others to awaken too. Your personal transformation has the power to touch the world around you. Next, we'll move to the practical part. How do you bring all this into everyday life? How do you turn the shadow into presence, into choices, into fuller relationships? We'll see, step by step, how integration can pave the way for more creativity, more truth, and a life that finally fits you. Now it's time to move from reflection to the ground of life. Because understanding the shadow is the beginning, but living with it is what transforms. Integration is that invisible bridge between knowing and being. It's when what was hidden starts to take shape in your daily life, and you learn to weave it all into the fabric of your own story. It all starts with a rare kind of courage, the courage to be honest with yourself. No excuses, no disguises, admitting what you feel, even when it's not pretty. Yes, jealousy exists. Yes, judgment too. But that clarity doesn't come to punish you. It comes to set you free. Because only what's seen can be transformed. Imagine a messy room. You can't organize it without first seeing what's there. The same goes for the shadow. It doesn't integrate until you look at it and accept it in the space of your life. The first step to transformation is simply to see. A simple way to start is to pay attention to your own triggers. When a strong emotion arises, anger, fear, even sudden enchantment, pause, ask without rushing, why is this affecting me this way? What does this reaction say about me? What part of me am I projecting onto the other? For example, if someone irritates you for being overly confident, ask yourself if that anger comes from a place in you that also doubts itself. Or maybe what you see in that confidence is a reflection of something you've denied, a desire of your own to shine, to be seen. This process can be uncomfortable. The temptation to blame yourself or defend yourself is strong. But the goal here isn't to judge, it's to understand. Every trigger that appears is a door to something deeper inside you. After identifying your shadow comes the moment to dialogue with it. Jung suggested that his patients treat it almost like it was another person. It might seem strange, but this process of externalizing helps you better understand what hides in the dark. Imagine sitting with your shadow and listening to it in silence. Ask, without haste, why do you feel this way? What are you trying to teach me? What do you need from me to feel seen? This dialogue can happen in many ways: writing, meditating, or simply visualizing. The important thing is to create a space where your shadow can be seen, heard. It's not your enemy, but a part of you, trying, in its own way, to protect or guide you. For many, what emerges in this process is surprising. Maybe a fear you've carried for years comes from something back in childhood, or perhaps a trait you tried to hide reveals itself as the strength you always needed. Now let's see how integrating the shadow changes relationships. The shadow doesn't just live in you, it reflects in everything around you. Many times, what hasn't been resolved within you shows up as conflict, tension in the closest places. Have you ever noticed patterns that repeat in your relationships? Maybe you find yourself in recurring conflicts with the same person, or always attracting the same type of partner, facing the same challenges. This isn't by chance. It's the shadow trying to speak through these repetitions. Jung saw relationships as mirrors, reflecting what's hidden in our unconscious. When someone provokes you deeply, it's because, in some way, that person is touching something inside you, a trait, a behavior that still lives in your shadow. When you recognize this dynamic, conflicts stop being just fights. They become opportunities for growth. Instead of pointing the finger at the other, look inward. What does this situation want to teach me about who I am? This shift in perspective not only expands your self-awareness, but also opens space for compassion and understanding. You start to see that we all carry a shadow, and by recognizing this, we connect in a deeper way. Now let's explore how embracing the shadow can unleash your creativity and purpose. Jung believed the shadow isn't just a repository of darkness, but also a field of untapped potential. All the energy you use to suppress your shadow can be redirected to what truly matters: to create, to act, to live more authentically. The shadow isn't just a burden, it can become strength. Repressed anger can turn into fuel for change, the desire for recognition, into art, into communication that inspires. When you integrate your shadow, you reclaim all the energy that was lost trying to ignore it. This energy can be redirected to what resonates with your deepest self. Look at the great names in history: artists, writers, leaders. What they created often directly reflects their confrontation with their own shadows. Frida Kahlo, with her intense paintings, brought her pain, her truth, to light. Martin Luther King Jr. used his anger against injustice to ignite a movement that changed the world. Jung believed creativity is a direct path to becoming whole. He said that by diving into creative processes, whether in art, writing, or even problem-solving, we access the deepest corners of our being, including our shadow. Now think about your own life. What passions or projects have you set aside out of fear, out of insecurity? What if, instead of being impractical, these were the true reflections of your authentic self, waiting to be revealed? As you integrate your shadow, something profound starts to happen. What was once heavy, hard to face, turns into strength. What seemed shameful now becomes wisdom. And over time, you find yourself more authentic, more confident, more aligned with your purpose. As you conclude this journey, you realize the shadow that once seemed like a burden is now the key to your freedom. What you hid, what you denied, is exactly what will take you to the next level. But remember, true transformation doesn't happen all at once. It's an ongoing journey. And the next step in that journey, it will be revealed in our next video. So, if this reflection resonated with you, leave your comment and share what it awakened inside you. And if you want to keep exploring this journey of self-discovery, don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next step is coming. See you there.